A simple decision that I made a few years back, the decision being buying a few shares every single trading day of a super high quality dividend growth ETF, something like SCHD, most likely has very well changed my life forever. Now in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what I've been doing over the past several years when it comes to my long-term dividend growth portfolio, and I'm going to explain exactly why. We're also going to go over how any younger, relatively younger dividend growth investor can do the exact same thing. Then later on, towards the end of this video, we're going to go over the exact numbers, and I'm going to share with you what my future now looks like because of a very simple decision I made a few years ago, and this is of buying a super high quality dividend growth ETF every single day. So if you're a long-term dividend growth investor, I definitely recommend you stick around. You're going to want to see all this, so make sure to drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. Real quick, for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the markets. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So as some of you guys either might or might not know at this point, I right now am a 31-year-old dividend investor that's been buying different dividend-paying stocks and ETFs for the last 7 or 8 years now. Now, I've been buying different single stocks, ETFs, basically more or less since I started investing, but over the last several years, probably around 2 years to be exact, I took it upon myself to build out a brand new super high quality position across my long-term portfolio, and that being a high quality dividend growth ETF that has a history of growing over time, has a diversified portfolio, and also has paid more and more in dividends long-term. Now, by the title of the video, you know exactly which ETF I decided to do this with, and it's the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, or SCHD, which as of filming this video, I currently have 658 shares, and I actually today grabbed another share, so I think I even have maybe more than this. But as the last count, I have 658 shares of SCHD that, like I said, I've been buying at least a share or two basically every single trading day over the past several years. Now, at first glance, this position across my portfolio doesn't really look like anything all that special. It just looks like another ETF that I'm holding on to across the various ETFs in my portfolio. But there's something very special about this one single position. I would like to call it a foundational position, and this position alone is going to change the future outlook for not only my portfolio, but most likely for my life long term. Now, before we go over the numbers and I share with you exactly how that's the case, at least going off of the previous performance, this ETF was the ETF I decided to basically build out a foundational position of, because this ETF, like I sort of mentioned, has a high quality basket of holdings, has a strong objective, is very cheap to own, but also SCHD has grown in price over time and also paid more and more in dividends basically every single year since this ETF's inception. Now, that's very important to me, especially as more of a dividend income focused investor that wants to use at least some of my dividends in the future to pay for things like bills, vacations, etc. And by buying into a high quality dividend growth ETF like SCHD that has a history of paying more and more cash flow over time, this is going to help me achieve all my goals and then some, at least I'm hoping so. Now, without wasting another second of time, I want to go through the actual numbers and share with you guys all the real data, the real numbers of what my situation looks like as of right now and what things are going to look like hopefully in the future. And of course, I recommend all of you guys mess around with different dividend calculators. Not only can it give you an idea of what things are going to do in the future based off of previous performance and where you're sitting as far as shares in your portfolio, but also utilizing a dividend calculator or just sort of generally extrapolating out and seeing what things can look like in the future is going to be extremely motivating for your dividend investing journey. But as of right now, this is more or less what we're sitting with. And again, this dividend calculator is not showing yield on cost, so I'm actually even earning a little bit higher than 3.37% because remember, I bought most of my shares of SCHD much lower than where it's trading at as of currently. But just to give us an idea of what we're working with, I currently, like I said, have around 658 shares of SCHD that I've been purchasing over the last several years now. Been buying a share or two every single day, every single trading day that is. SCHD is offering around a 3.37% initial annual dividend yield. Like I said, mine's probably a little bit higher than that because I do have a higher yield on cost. I bought most of my shares of SCHD around $72 to $74 per share, but whatever, we'll go with the current initial annual dividend yield of 3.37%. Now, as far as SCHD's dividend growth rate, this is sort of hard to know exactly how much SCHD is going to raise their dividend consistently over time, but at least over the last 10 years, we're at 11.01%. The last 5 years, we're at 12.88%. And then the last 3 and last year, we're somewhere around 8 or 9%. But just to go off of the longest time frame, let's go with 11% expected annual dividend amount increase, which again, this could be smaller or this could be larger, but just going off of some of the previous data, let's go with 11%. Now, expected annual share price appreciation, this of course can also be much larger or much smaller, depending on what happens and how SCHD trades later on, but let's go with 4%. Years invested can be 30. I'm currently 31 years old, so realistically speaking, I don't know exactly if I'm going to keep reinvesting and doing this for the next 30 years, but just to give us an idea of what things could look like based upon my current situation, and just to show you guys exactly how this changed everything for my future, at least going off of previous numbers. Now on top of that, the distribution frequency for SCHD is going to be quarterly, of course. Drip is going to be turned on because as of right now at least, and hopefully for the foreseeable future, until of course I want to dig into those dividends, I am reinvesting everything back into more shares of SCHD and or other stocks ETFs across the market, so drip or dividend reinvestment is going to be turned on for this example. Now, an interesting aspect is going to be annual contribution. So as of right now, if I'm currently buying a share or two of SCHD every single day, I'm currently spending much more than $10,000 annually on SCHD. And that's why I want to go through and show you guys different theoretical situations of me contributing more and less on a yearly basis, just again to give us an idea of how a long-term investment could look. So now that we have everything basically in how we want it to be, $10,000 added per year, we have 658 shares of SCHD, we are going to be reinvesting the dividends. Based upon these numbers, let's take a look. So year number one, with around 658 shares of SCHD that I currently have as of right now, I'm currently earning just shy of $1,800 per year in dividends. But after those dividends are reinvested and after the annual contribution of $10,000, by year number two, by next year, I will already be up to around 800 shares of SCHD. Now between you and I probably will be even higher than that because some days I buy even more than just a few shares. I really want to get to 1,000 shares ASAP. But that's besides the point. By year number four, up to 1,075 shares, which are going to be paying us around $4,000 per year in dividends. Now by year number 10, skipping ahead, I'd be 41 years old at this point, and this is again with just my shares of SCHD that I currently own and adding a $10,000 contribution per year, which is sort of on the light end as far as what I plan on doing, but again, that's besides the point. We'd be at $13,900 per year in dividends, and in after drip value, these shares of SCHD alone would be worth almost $250,000 at 10 years in. Now 20 years down the road, I'd be 51 years old and I'd be earning north of $98,000 per year in dividends, which is insane, and a portfolio value which is around $930,000. Now to skip all the way to the bottom, if I kept on doing what I'm doing year after year for 30 years straight, obviously later on the power of compound is really going to kick in. We would have surpassed 19,000 shares of SCHD, earning upwards of $1 million per year in dividends. It doesn't even seem like that's a real situation. Now here's the magical part. Because I sort of did the upfront work, I bought a ton of shares of SCHD, and it was by no means easy for me. I had to add more money into my portfolio, etc. But now because the heavy lifting, if you will, is sort of done, I have 658 shares, which again, of course, I'm not saying that I have the most shares out of any investor out there. A lot of you guys watching this video probably have more shares than me, but I'm just showing you what things could look like later on with a decent amount of shares invested. So if we change that $10,000 contribution to just $100 from here, so let's say I just basically sit on my shares that I currently own and basically ride them out into the future. I add $100 per year, so I buy around a share every single year, basically just keeping the shares that I have, letting them compound year after year and do their thing. Now we would of course still start off with 658 shares, but they would honestly move up a lot slower and it would take several years until we hit over $1,000 per share. But even still, because of those dividend increases, I would already be up to around $7,000, $8,000 per year in dividends after just around 10 years in. Now the real magic is honestly here though, and this is why I wanted to get the main point across in this video. Investing in something high quality that has the potential to raise their dividend and compound that portfolio long term, build up the snowball effect is very magical. Because with my 658 shares, even if I barely added another share forever and just let the portfolio basically run on autopilot, I would still be to around 6,600 shares by the time I'm 61, earning around $368,000 per year in dividends, which I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty nice to me. Now it just goes to show that you don't necessarily even need to invest all that much more after you get a decent nest egg built out, and that's why I always say, especially if you're younger, build out a portfolio by any means necessary in high quality assets, reinvest the dividends and let them do their thing. Because although it's going to take some time for the portfolio to really reach escape velocity, if you invest into the right assets and just stay the course, let the portfolio compound over time, even a portfolio that starts off with a relatively small amount of shares, again 658 shares is not the largest portfolio in the world by any means, that on its own long term is going to be enough to make any investor out there relatively rich if you ask me. So now that I share with you guys exactly how buying just a share or two of SCHD basically every single trading day over the past several years has probably changed everything for my future, I lastly most importantly want to hear from you guys down below. As of right now, especially if you're a relatively younger investor, which high quality stocks or ETFs are you also stacking up, building a massive foundation that's going to propel you through retirement with massive amounts of cash flow? Drop some of the ticker symbols in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.